So some news coming out of Project Quarm today. Project Quarm has reached an agreement with Daybreak and they will be coming back online. Now this may seem like a win, this may seem like good news, and maybe for Project Quarm it is. However, the agreement they entered into is somewhat scary and it is not looking good for THJ and is not good news for THJ. So this was pulled out of their Discord, and it talks about the agreement and that they have reached an agreement to become similar to Project 1999, and it is a personal, non-commercial, not-for-profit based private server, and they have some guidelines they have to follow. So Project Quarm had some changes to the game, and Daybreak determined that those changes were too far for a personal, non-commercial, fan-based private server. So as such, they were asked to remove specific items. Some of those are their custom zones, custom raid encounters, custom player race and class unlocks, some of their features like item tinting, armor fixes, and their custom expansion. At any point in time, Daybreak may request that they remove additional customized features. One of the big things that sticks out here is that they are implementing a player cap of 1,200 players. Additional players must be put in queue, and they got an exception for offline trade in Bazaar. So if this type of agreement was applied to the hero's journey, what would the hero's journey be like? You would not have multi-class and you would have no quality of life feature updates. Almost nothing in the hero's journey would exist. I'm not even sure they will let you have the fine-tuned encounters. I mean, there wouldn't be any anymore because you won't be multi-classing. So the hero's journey is built on customization. So if they were to follow a similar agreement, then the hero's journey just simply doesn't exist like it does. And I think that this limit of 1,200 players would also probably apply to THJ, which, as we all know, THJ is a lot bigger than that. So basically Daybreak is saying you can't modify anything in the game and you can only have so many players. Everybody else, tough luck, you're going to play on our servers or not play at all. So they're at the point right now where they are limiting experiences for players, or limiting the number of players that want to play on private emulation servers, which is their right. But they're basically saying that any players beyond that number, you can basically go to hell. You either play on our servers, wait in this queue, or you don't play at all.
It's like boom, headshot, boom, headshot.
And they're fine with that. And we knew they were going to be fine with something like that. They've always been like that. Interesting thing is I was literally, and I have already scripted a video I was going to make that talks about how this isn't about RMT. It's not that they're competing with the servers, because even though Fangbreaker launched slower than expected, which I don't know why they think that it was going to get like a Teak type font. I'm just still not clear on how they thought Fangbreaker was going to do better than it did.
Never go full retard.
I mean, it had 1,700 to 2,000 some players. That's pretty damn good for that rule set. That rule set, like I said in another video, has not worked or drawn that big of a crowd since the very first releases of these TLPs. So I don't know how they think they were going to get more than that, and then they blamed that lack of performance. That was one of the complaints they had, was they're taking away players, and you can see that they addressed that in the agreement with Quorm by limiting the 1,200 players. So while it is, obvious that from a legal standpoint, they're really going for the real money transactions and the lack of population on their live servers and TLPs, that's what they put in their argument. But the real reason, which is very clear now, is that they want control of the game at all costs. That means no customization, no popularity.
I am very popular.
I'm sure you are. Very popular.
And no real money transactions, which I said I don't even think that was really what they're going after. I really think that is basically the popularity and the control they lost with these emulation servers that are changing and modifying things, because Daybreak wants to say what EverQuest is, not what it could become. Project Quarm made the game better in ways, and the hero's journey made it a lot better all around. They made it a game that attracted new players and people actually wanted to play. I find it hard that they would do this type of agreement with Project Quarm and then all of a sudden they're going to let THJ continue. The only way I see THJ continuing, which it does not seem likely that they take over the THJ assets and they put multi-classing in the game and maybe some of the quality of life changes, but I really just think that they're more just going for control and milking this dead game for what it's worth, and that I don't know what chance THJ actually has. I did a little bit of research, and in history, it's called, an innovation threat, basically. The fan projects usually get ignored. until they start to outperform the original. Think of Nostalrius and the World of Warcraft Classic server, the private server that had over 8,000 accounts registered at one point and 200,000 active players. Yeah, they shut that shit down in a heartbeat. And that wasn't even like customization of the game. It was just becoming too popular with and competing with the live version of the game. And then what did they do? They launched, you know, their classic servers. And then you got another Metroid 2 remake, which they shut that down. And then they did Nintendo's Metroid remake. So the projects weren't shut down because they failed. They were shut down because they succeeded. So becoming too popular hurt Quorm and it hurt THJ. Although I think Quorm would have got by for quite a bit longer if THJ didn't exist. So in that way, the customization and the attention that THJ brought, it did hurt other emulation servers that were doing customization. And I don't buy that players skipped Fangbreaker for THJ. I mean, maybe somewhat, but not as big of a deal as they're thinking. You know, this wasn't about just protecting a brand. They don't want the competition. Like think of Game of Thrones, the TV series, when the actual TV series and writers had to write past where the books go. When you have someone that's ahead of the game and reshaping the game, which THJ did, it really gets ahead of Daybreak and what's expected before they could catch up. So think of George Martin, like how is he supposed to like write the final book, which he hasn't yet, but how are you supposed to write the final book of Game of Thrones when the TV series that was widely popular concluded? Places like THJ that are making the game better, they're really setting the narrative for EverQuest. And no matter what Daybreak does after this, if it doesn't hit that Project Quarm, that THJ level, people are just not going to be impressed. Like the standards have risen. So there are some cases when the studios embrace the fan type stuff, like Valve did with Black Mesa or Sega with Sonic Mania, but usually they still shut them down first because once players see the better version, it, like I said, it reframes their expectations. So you don't want the community calling the fan project the real game, and you can see that all through THJ. Like this is like the EverQuest I'd always hoped for, the EverQuest I thought I'd always dreamed of, and I'm having fun playing again. You can't have that happening when you have a company and a game that's still live and they have their own roadmap. So THJ just wasn't a server. It was competing for the vision of what EverQuest could be. And honestly, that's a much harder problem to solve than just like a legal one, like IP theft or making money off, you know, IP that's not yours. Like somebody setting the vision for the game is really the problem. It's really about control. So I don't know where THJ goes from here, but seeing this Project Quarm agreement, like it doesn't seem very hopeful. I mean, they might allow THJ to exist under the similar type of agreement. 1,200 player cap, has to be original content, not any customization, or maybe there's some things you can still customize, but nothing like THJ has been doing. So it's not just Daybreak versus THJ. It's basically a fight over who gets to decide what happens next in gaming. Is it the studios that own the rights or the players keeping the game alive? So THJ proved that fans can modernize a classic MMO in ways the original creators never did. And whether it survives or not, it's already changed the conversation. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this Project Quarm agreement is good or bad for THJ? Where do you think we can go from here? What do you think's possible? All at this point is all opinion and theory crafting, so these are just my thoughts, but I want to hear yours below. I do take time to respond to comments. And always, if you're interested in more of my content, check out one of these two videos.